and the shopping season and the Christmas decorations and all that stuff gets going. And so I'm very glad to have everybody joining us today. Shall we go ahead and get going?
Go ahead and kick us off, Michelle.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another QB Power Hour. Very glad to have you joining us for today's session. Goodbye, IOP, and hello, QBO Payroll. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. My name is Michelle Long. I'm a CPA with an MBA in entrepreneurship, owner of Long for Success. Thrilled to have been a contract trainer for Intuit since 2007. So quite a number of years. I'm hopeful we're going to be getting on the road again soon. In the meantime, don't forget we got some great VCons that are coming up over the next month or two with year end and everything. I know there's a tax VCon as well as QuickBooks VCon. So check those out. Dan, go ahead.
All right. My name is Dan, owner of Dan With, worked at Intuit for about 18 years, your co-host today. Also co-hosting a workshop Wednesdays, which is hosted by School of Bookkeeping, as I'm the chief content creator there and tech editor for the QBO for Dummies series. And recently, top 10 ProAdvisor in social media. So I'm really excited about that. And
Congrats.
thank you. And we have a guest today, Leif. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Leif. I'm here at QuickBooks, and I've been product manager of the QuickBooks team, and specifically with QuickBooks Payroll. And so I'm here to talk about the transition, the consolidation of our new products up to our new flagship lineup. So we'll hear more about that in the minutes to come.
All right. And this episode is kind of a he said, she said rebuttal to to last week's or last time's where we were talking about rest in peace to IOP or RIP to IOP. So we wanted to give equal opportunity for Intuit to really talk about the transition, and really kind of lay the groundwork as to why this is happening and what to expect for those clients and accountants that are using the Intuit Online Payroll service. So appreciate you being here. So coming up next is a on the QB Power Hour, which is of course every other Tuesday, is on the 12th. I'm reading it backwards. I just picked up a Canadian client, so the dates are backwards. So the 7th of December, there we go. We'll have year-end prep. So coming up on the 5th quarter, which is December, we'll be talking about the year-end prep, things to do for you and your clients. And then the 21st or the 14th, we're not quite sure. We were talking about that a little ahead of time, that we may have an upcoming one on the week of the holidays, but normally we take those weeks off. So we'll keep that. We'll keep that up to keep you posted in the Facebook group as far as
watch for one. Hope I think it's December 14th. So just keep an eye out for that, everyone.
Okay. And then we've created a brand new, I've created on our website, the qbpowerhour.com/resources. So rather than having all these independent links for all the handouts and the webinar archives, we just decided to put everything in one place. So the qbpowerhour.com /resources will be a good place to go for the slides, the recordings, the podcasts, and other things as well. A little bit of housekeeping. So of course, we actually do have about 3 or 4 people in the behind the scenes helping us answer questions. So if you do have a specific question about a topic, what we're talking about here today, and you want to get it answered, please do put it in the Q&A. Now we know that we'll likely have some specific situations where it'll start with, I have a client who, blah, 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 right? And because we do have such a heavy Intuit presence here, we are going to make these Q&As available to Intuit, and we'll also put those in post-webinar so that you can see all of the questions and answers following that. So please, if you do have a specific question, put it in the Q&A. And then comments, chat type of things. You have the chat as well as also the handouts and the links that are there for the handouts as well. So a little bit about our agenda today. we'll be talking about the QuickBooks Payroll ecosystem, the variety of payroll services that are available for Intuit and QuickBooks Online specifically. And we'll talk about the transition as far as streamlining those offerings, because if you've been around the Intuit block for as long as I have, there is quite a few. And taking the opportunity to streamline those offerings, and we'll talk a little bit about that, as well as the transition timeline, what that looks like, and more importantly, what that process actually looks like for you as an accountant or bookkeeper and your clients. So we will start by saying goodbye. And I'm going to stop my sharing here and I'll turn it over to Leif. If I could stop sharing. There we go. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dan. So as I alluded to before, let me just share my screen. So I've been on the payroll team for about 5 years, and I just want to start with the vision that we have on our Intuit payroll team. And it's really 3 parts. One is consolidating our products and moving our customers to our flagship lineup. And I'll talk a bit about the reasons why we're doing this and the benefits for customers in just a minute. That's one of the goals that we have established for ourselves. The second one is to really dig deep and enhance our relationship with accountants and build on our partnership. Of course, you guys are what helps power our business. So we're coming out with a lot of new features and products to really specifically help accountants manage their practice and do that in a more efficient, better way. Lastly, we're building, enhancing our products so that we can continue to deliver a full service experience, which entails optimizing things like payroll setup for new clients and tax experiences and automated payroll experiences to make it even more efficient and to have time-saving ways of running your practice. Now, I'm going to pause periodically through here to ask a few poll questions. So before I go into more detail, I'm going to ask one quick question, and that is, what extent is payroll part of your current practice?
Yeah, so go ahead and launch that. So you don't? The thought of payroll makes you ill?
And I think that's interesting, because when it comes to accounting professionals, it seems like they used to be pretty evenly split, where a third of them would process payroll, a third of them would do some kind of hybrid method with the client doing some and them doing one, and a third of them would always just outsource it, like let into a full service payroll, do it all and stuff. So it's always interesting to see who does and who does not do payroll. That's for sure.
Yeah, as we talked the last time, Michelle just run screaming from payroll, right? Taxes and payroll.
It's so much easier now than it used to be, because now you can do payroll from an app on your phone in an airport while you're traveling or something. So, and with Intuit's payroll that they have and everything, and I know Leif's going to mention this, the HR benefits and all that, and with all the COVID things that we've had over the past year and things like that. I mean, they have the tools and the technology that make it so much easier to do than it used to be in the past. So it can be a very lucrative part of your business. That's for sure.
Absolutely. It looks like most of it's a managed payroll. That's what is coming in as far as people who are doing payroll services. They treat that as a core offering.
Excellent. Well, we got a lot of good news for those folks on the call, so that's good to hear. So right. I'm going to go.
Yeah, go ahead and.
Can I keep going?
Yes.
All right. So speaking of which, the reason that we're really investing in our new payroll lineup is that it's essentially allowing us to make sure that we can continue building out our flagship products. So if you're not familiar with the QuickBooks lineup, we have 3 products today: Core, Premium, and Elite. And admittedly, the names are a little bit confusing because we call them QuickBooks Payroll, Core, Premium, and Elite. But you don't need QuickBooks Online, meaning the accounting product, in order to have payroll for your clients. So this is new as of about 2 years ago. You can purchase QuickBooks Payroll and simply, for your clients, have the ability to set up, pay taxes, run payroll, all that core functionality. And you can decide whether or not you want to also purchase our QuickBooks accounting product for your clients. So I'll just call that out because those are 2 separate products here. And specifically what we're talking about is the payroll part. The reason for transitioning from our Intuit Online Payroll platform is really that we've had this product for almost 10 years now as a business. And it's been something that we know is very familiar to customers, but at the same time, it hasn't changed much. It hasn't changed because it hasn't been invested in. And that means that our new products have now slowly crept up and advanced substantially over the features and the capabilities of Intuit Online Payroll. So we believe that with this transition, it's allowing us to offer more value and more innovation to you as accountants, your firms, and your clients. So what does this mean? Oops, hit the wrong button here. Let me keep going. Actually, another poll question.
Go right into a next poll question. So how long have you been using Intuit Online Payroll? For those folks that are joining us that know about that in between Intuit Online Payroll product, right? So it's not QuickBooks Online, it's not QuickBooks Online Payroll, it's a middle of the road. How long have you been using that? I like that one answer. Over 5 years, I still call it pay cycle.
It is hard to change names all the time.
Any questions that we saw coming in?
Yeah, I was answering one from Naomi right now. She was asking, she has an account as a business owner, and she was wondering when she said she didn't get any notification about when it's going to be transitioning or discontinued or anything. And I told her that, Leif would be talking about this. Is that correct, Leif? I thought you were going to mention the timing and the dates and when things would happen. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. So we'll get into the dates in just 1 second.
Perfect. All right. Let's go.
And I should mention that if for folks that have questions, we will be taking notes on the Q&A. So anything that is not answered during this call, even those that are answered, I believe Dan and Michelle are going to send out a transcript with some of those answers, so you can have that in your pocket.
Yeah, there's quite a few folks that have been using it over 5 years. So they are very interested to know what is actually happening. And that's one of the things that we want to collect here today. What's the best way? And that's one of the discussions that we've been having with the team is how is that best communicated to you? And I'll have a poll question later about that, about what is the best way to communicate these kind of changes to you, because to Naomi's point, they probably did send an email, but it may have gotten lost in the litany of emails, especially if you're doing payroll for someone or for a number of clients and you're getting all of those payroll emails as well. Sometimes you get a little desensitized to the number of emails and which one's more important than others. So Leif, go ahead and tell us about the lineup of payroll services.
Yeah, so I'm going to start and talk a little bit about, especially for those who've been using our pay cycle for more than 5 years, some of the differences with Core Premium and Elite. So one of the key things that you'll notice is that all of these three products are full service payroll. And this means that Intuit files the taxes and forms for you. So that's our definition of full service. That's a major advantage for a lot of businesses. It means you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about deadlines and manage all the nuances, the ins and outs yourself. But it is a change from some of the features that we had on what we call Intuit Online Payroll. We had two versions. One is Intuit Online Payroll. The other is Intuit Full Service Payroll. So now this is a difference where all our products are full service. Within the Premium and Elite, this is where we really have packed in a lot more features here. So we have a same-day direct deposit, which means you can run your payroll the day before. So 5 p.m. Thursday for a Friday payroll. With Premium and Elite, you actually can run it the same day. So if you're running up against a wall, you got deadlines, you want to keep your money in the bank a little bit longer, you have until 7 a.m. on the day of payday in order to make your payroll. And that's a huge benefit for a lot of our customers.
Just a side note, don't do that this Thursday because the holidays do come into play here.
Thank you for bringing that out, Dad. Yes, absolutely. It's Thanksgiving is one of the most confusing days. So always our banks make sure that we don't move money on bank holidays. So, but next week you can use that.
Exactly.
So we in Elite, we also have expert setup, which is a very advantageous feature where you can schedule an appointment with an expert to guide you through setup, either your firm or your clients. we have integrated time tracking on both Premium and Elite. This is, for those of you that may have used QB Time or be using QB Time, Premium and Elite really integrates time at a whole new level. So it makes it much easier to do things such as setting PTO, time off policies, overtime policies, and viewing your time and approving your time within payroll is all now much more streamlined. We also have, with our Elite lineup, we have a tax penalty protection, which is a guarantee up to $25,000. If there is an error with tax filing, we will get your back and we have you covered.
Now, before you go into too much more, there's a lot of, we do have a few friends north of the border. Any of this dealing with Canadian payroll or the Canadian payroll offerings?
Great question. So a lot of these are a little different in Canada. So specifically what I'm talking about today is within the US payroll. This is our flagship offerings. We will have some more stuff coming to Canada. That is in the works. So I would say stay tuned and we can talk more about that in a separate time.
Awesome. Thanks.
The other big difference with our new lineups is that we have features that go beyond just payroll. And this is one of the things that we're really leaning into. And especially, it's not just us here at Intuit, but it's really where the market has started to shift over the years. And we've seen that and really leaned into that as a company. So we now offer HR support, which translates to access to resources, tools, templates, and also connections with a HR expert if you need it as a small business. We offer integrated workers' comp, pay-as-you-go workers' comp. We also offer now access to health benefits through Simply Insured, and that is a consolidated, affordable medical, dental, vision insurance packages that make it easier for small businesses to afford premiums because they are aggregated with Simply Insured and allow, it's a partnership that we now allow our businesses to take advantage of. Lastly, we now also integrate 401k plans too with our partner Guideline, and you can take advantage of that in our Premium and Elite plans. So all these are things that were really advantageous with our new lineup. And that gets to what does it mean to transition from Intuit Online Payroll to the new lineup? So as we developed this process, and this has been something in the works for the past year, we really wanted to make it seamless for firms and their businesses. We know that change is hard. Change is hard for anyone, no matter what you're doing or what you're going through, and especially if you've been using a product for many years, as a number of you have. So one of the things that we want to make sure is that, number one, the product that the end result is feature-rich, is modern, is really responsive and flexible, and we believe it's our best product. So we believe we've done that. And in order to get you there, we've designed a flexible opt-in period. And so this gets to the communication. So you would have received a couple of emails. We've actually started the communication with small businesses earlier this year, and accountants have just started in November, and it will continue through the year. Our opt-in period for firms and their clients goes from November through June of 2022, so about 6 months, which means that you'll have up to 6 months to make the transition, and I'll go into to what that is in just a second here. And lastly, that transition itself is as easy as one click, and there's going to be no disruption to your business. So I like to think of this not as much as if you go through the transition, it's not as if you're signing up to a new payroll service and you're going to have to re-enter your data and set up your data from scratch. Really, you're transitioning from one product from Intuit to another product from Intuit. We have your data. It's not going anywhere. So once you agree to the transition, overnight, you'll have access to the new product. All your client information will be there. You can continue running payroll where you left off without interruption. And that's really the benefit of the transition that we're offering.
Yeah, I think that is probably the biggest thing to make sure that folks understand. Because when I was working there and I had access to the payroll tools, what was on IOP or Intuit Online Payroll and what was on QBO Payroll was one and the same. So we used the same tool to access the payroll information, to be able to make changes and updates and things of that nature. So that's one of the main advantages of when you're maybe evaluating other payroll offerings or what does this mean for me and my clients, is that how much is it going to take, or how much time is it going to take to transition from one platform to another. Yes, change sucks. Change at the end of the year or going into your busy season is not ideal. But what does that change look like, and how much am I going to have to learn to be able to do that? If you've got some clients with a lot of employees, that taking that into account of how long is that going to take to actually transition to a new service is pretty, should be part of the equation. And what you're telling us here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Leif, they won't have to do any of that setup, because when they opt in, it just changes, right? Like the user interface is what will change, not the payroll functionality. Well, they'll get features, right? But as far as those
Absolutely,
other
Dan.
types.
Yeah, absolutely. So we internally say, hey, you're going from the blue product to the green product. You're going to log in and you'll now see the interface of our new modern product, but all your information is going to be there. So we do offer care support, and you'll see a chat link if you have any questions when you go through the transition. But that's not to mean that there's someone that needs to be keying in your data behind the scenes. It's just there to help answer any questions about the new features, about how to navigate the new product once you get there. The whole actual transition will take place generally overnight. And I'll get to that in a little more detail. So just getting a visual representation of the timeline. So I mentioned it was up to 6 months. And we've started our launch in November for accountants. There are a few firms, as some of you may know on this call, who are using less common features. Those may include class tracking or time tracking or other things that are some of the advantages of Intuit Online Payroll. And you may see this opt-in experience start after February of 22. Again, we'll notify you with an email, and you'll see this on your transition tab when you log into Intuit Online Payroll. And I'll show you what that looks like. And that's in order for us to provide the best experience and make sure that we're offering you the ability to transition when we're ready to accommodate your firm. You'll be able to.
A good question. When you said you'll get an email, Marilyn was asking this question. She manages clients who pay, like I guess they're direct billing, but she manages payroll clients. Who gets the notification to opt in that case?
That's a great question. So if you are managing your clients, then you will get the email as the firm. And when you get that email, you'll be able to log into the transition tab. You'll see a lot of resources before you even need to do anything. And on one of those resources will be a guide to speaking with your clients. So we really leave it up to you as the firm owner to decide when and how and what to communicate to your clients. We do provide some suggestions, but if you are paying and managing them directly, we'll let you manage that communication. And then you also can control the date, when, and how that you and those clients transition.
And speaking of the date and when you transition, if I could ask a question for Anne, she wants to know if we can accelerate the opt-in if they don't have it yet inside the portal. And I thought, Leif, when we were talking previously, that the answer to that is no. If you have more complex, like you just mentioned, if you're using classes or locations, or if you're doing some of the more complex features, they may not be able to opt in as early. They're going to have to wait. Is that correct? Or can you clarify?
Yeah, generally we want to make sure the experience is right for you. So that's why we'll let you know when you're eligible to opt in. And we will provide some contact info at the end of this call in the Q&A. So if you really want to transition and you're eager to do it, then you can reach out to us and we can, we'll evaluate and see if we can help you. But we do have a number of accountants. I believe we have almost 100,000 over 100,000 clients and thousands of accountants. So we want to make sure that everyone's able to transition when they're ready.
And then a couple questions are showing up about desktop to online. We'll probably have to have you guys come back when we actually talk about, to really talk about the transition from desktop to online and what that payroll looks like. But what we're talking about here is just the Intuit Online Payroll transition to QuickBooks Online and those consolidation of those services.
Absolutely, yes. And we do have a number of folks that are working on making sure there are even enhancements to the desktop transition as well. So we can talk about that later on. But yes, that's exactly right. We're talking mainly about our online payroll. If you are exporting to desktop, by the way, I should mention that you'll still be able to export to desktop after you transition. So that's not a feature that's going to be going away. You can do that by going to the settings menu, and there's an export function in there.
And just to clarify that, we're talking about exporting payroll data from Intuit Online Payroll.
Exactly.
Got to clarify all this stuff because there's so many platforms and different things, and that's one of the main reasons that you're doing this, is to make things a little bit more simplified, right? Like if you have QuickBooks Online Payroll and you want to add accounting, you can do that. If you have QuickBooks Online Accounting and you want to add payroll, you can do that. But it's all the same now. It's not blue versus green versus whatever, right?
Exactly. And one of the big advantages I didn't touch on, but of being part of the QuickBooks environment now allows you and your clients to be part of the QuickBooks ecosystem, which was not possible with Intuit Online Payroll. So now, once you're part of QuickBooks, you have the option to take advantage of our capital offerings if you need a small business loan, payment offerings if you're accepting merchant payments, also integrated time tracking, as I mentioned before, and a suite of other services that are now available through what we call the QuickBooks ecosystem. So I think that's a huge advantage, and that's something that we're heavily investing in as a company. So I'd expect this ecosystem to grow and become even more powerful in the years ahead.
Great.
Well, the last thing I'll mention on the timeline, Dan, is that for those who choose to wait until the last minute, which would be June to opt in, if you haven't opted in by then, we will make the transition for you. And we expect to finish the transition by July of 2022. So again, you have control over what month, what time of year. We know, for example, January is a very hectic time for your business. We also know April is tax season, of course. There are a lot of things going on. So we want to make sure that it's the time that's right for you.
And when they do make the transition, like it's mid-year, because that's typically the biggest challenge when you're going in from one payroll service to another. If they're already on, the payroll forms are still there, right? Again, because it's the same service. So your 941s don't go away by transitioning. It's just now who's responsible for filling them out. If you were using, enhanced, where it was a do-it-yourself, now you're opted into the full service payroll filing.
That's exactly right, and that gets me into what I was going to mention next. Is that what we've learned from customers is that the biggest change here is really getting used to where things are located. As I mentioned before, you're going from the blue product to the green product, so sometimes the layout of the screen is different, the buttons are different. It might take a little while to find things. I know when I upgraded my Windows computer, it was the same way. And that's always a process, and I understand that. And so to make that a little bit easier, a couple of things. One, there's actually a link that you'll see at the end, which is to learning QuickBooks Online. There's some tutorials. If you're not familiar with the ecosystem, you can go in and take some of those trainings. Specifically, we've also launched a new QuickBooks ProAdvisor payroll certification, and this is brand new as of, I believe, a month ago. You can use it to get both your firm and your firm's employees up to speed on the new product. If you take the certification, you'll also get CPE credits, so that's one advantage. But it's one more certification that we have in our QuickBooks ProAdvisor lineup of certifications that you may be familiar with already. So that may be something, if you're thinking of transitioning, that is good to give you a head start and will help you orient with the product and the features and functionality that's available. Three of the other concerns that we've heard, the main things that we know from talking with you and your firms are, hey, what is the price going to be? What does that mean for me and my business? When will the change take place? How much flexibility will I have? And hey, where's my data going? Are you going to make me set up payroll all over again? Am I going to be blocked from doing certain things until this is over? So on the first one, we believe we have a strong pricing proposition based on our assessment of the competitive pricing and where we feel we're strongly positioned in the market based on the services and the value that we can provide for our products. And I'll go into that in just a second with what we call our QuickBooks ProAdvisor pricing program. It's a new pricing structure launched as of July of this year.
That's a lot of P's.
I know. I think we love P's.
Yes, you do love the P's.
It's all of our QuickBooks accountants, you have the option of becoming our pro advisor. So this is simply the pricing that's associated with that. I already spoke to this a little bit. So we talk about a long opt-in period and flexibility and making sure there's no business disruption. So what does that mean in detail? So here is the pricing program. There's a link here where you can go onto the website and look in a little more detail. But essentially what this means is that as an accountant, you can continue offering subscriptions to your clients through the two methods that you have today in IOP. That would be a wholesale or a retail method, or in other words, you might think of it as you can pay for the subscription for your clients, or you can offer it to your clients at a discount and they can pay and manage their subscription. The difference is that one method gives the client a discount for 12 months. The other method, the wholesale method, gives you a discount in perpetuity. The discount itself is the same. So it's 30% off the retail price and then 15% off the retail of the per employee and the per contractor price. And every payroll product we sell has the same combination where there's a monthly price and then there's a per employee price as well. So you can, if you want details on this, you have questions, again, you can go on the website and find out a little bit more about this. As you're familiar with IOP, you can still file multiple states, no change there. And again, full service automated taxes and forms are included.
Yeah, I think the best thing I heard about with, should I go with a full service or, offering like that? The thing I really like about the Elite offering is the guarantee that you guys have. And that's regardless of who makes at fault, right? Like it could be, and that's why you guys have the white glove, setup, because, you guys are on the hook if there is a mistake, regardless of who makes it. But it only takes one tax notice to pay for a full service payroll service.
Right. And that's why we want to have your back as a firm, and we will cover up to $25,000, whether it's on our end or your end, for any tax penalties. Exactly. All right. One more poll question.
One more poll. Okay. So this one is.
And while you're launching that poll question, I just wanted to make a comment to some of the people here. I saw a lot of you putting questions in the chat. And I mean, that's great that you have questions and I know you want answers, but if you could copy and paste your question and put it into the Q&A, that makes it easier for our Intuit employees that are on helping with these questions. It makes it easier for us to answer your specific questions. So why don't you copy and paste it into the Q&A, please? And thank you to everybody for answering those questions. I think they're doing great and they're keeping up with them. There's lots of questions.
They're whizzing by faster than I can even see them. So, and that's the goal, is that we're gonna even if we don't have the opportunity to answer them live here today, whether on the call as we're talking, or through a printed or typed reply. That's the word I was looking for. We will provide this list of questions to Intuit, and they'll go through and specifically answer any unanswered questions, and we'll provide that back to you as a resource for to be able to review later. So if you didn't get your question answered today, the goal is to have it answered in some fashion so that you can review it later. All right. Well, it looks like actually I'm surprised. Email is a preferred communication method. So color me confused.
Good to hear people still check their email. I stopped doing that.
Just a little desensitized to email. Well, I think for me, it's because I had set up so many different logins and used so many different emails, I get the email 5, 6, 7 times for the same thing. So that it's like, oh, it's another one of those things inviting me to this webinar or or something like that. So that is probably one thing that affects me.
Absolutely. If you haven't received an email on this transition, I would expect an email in the next 2 weeks. For those of you that might be thinking, hey, where is this? When is this going to come? So really glad to hear that that's something that folks are still paying attention to. So stay on the lookout for that. When you see it, you will be able to click and log into your product, and you'll see a transition tab in IOP, and this will be on your client list page. Once you see the transition tab, there'll be 2 steps. One step will have the information that you'll need to know, including, as I mentioned before, the steps to talking with your clients if you want to do so, information on the pricing, what's going to happen to your firm. Incidentally, I'll mention that while you pay for your firm on Intuit Online Payroll, if you run payroll for your firm in QuickBooks, it's entirely free. So you'll get that free subscription indefinitely after you make the transition. And then step 2, with one click, you'll be able to schedule that transition. It'll happen overnight. And then we'll notify you when we're done, and when you log in, then you'll be able to go to QuickBooks Online Accountant, and you'll see all your clients already populated with their data. And you can, if their bank information was there before and you're running direct deposits will still be there. You can keep running payroll, no interruption.
Yeah, that's a huge time savings, not having to enter in and confirm, the banking information for direct deposit if it's already there.
And can we clarify something for people? So they will only see the transition tab when they're eligible to transition, right? So they may see it on some clients and not on other clients, depending on, are they use as classes or whatever. So if they don't see it, is there any way for them to request to do the transition early?
I would, if you don't see it, then I would say, if you really want to request it, then contact us. We'll provide a way after this call. If you guys can let us know. So we'll work as fast as we can. We are working as fast as we can to make this available.
Okay, thank you.
And typically with most things like this, from my experience, on the other side of the fence, it's a lot easier to do these things without data involved. Regardless of what the data is, if you've already got the data and you can just unlock those new features, fantastic. But the more complexities and things that are being done in that service already, it does kind of make it a little bit more challenging to make that final transition. So that's typically why, you'll see these rollouts where, new customers get it first because there's nothing, it's fresh sand, right? It's fresh snow, right? In Leif's background there, he's got fresh snow, lots of fresh snow behind him. But if there's no data involved, then there's nothing that would potentially be missed. And then the more complex that data is being utilized, then you have potential issues that could run up, that things could be run into. And because they want to take the best option and make it as seamless as possible, those end up being later in the timeline, right, Leif?
Yeah, that's right. There are a lot of things that we're trying to do under the hood to make it seamless. And so some things we also want to make this available as quickly as possible because we know peak season is coming up in January. And so that's why we wanted to start letting some firms opt in now. But as Dan, you mentioned, exactly, we're going to make it available for everyone else in the coming weeks. So it's just a little bit of time for us. But we know it's coming. We know you want it. And one of the things that I'll mention here that I hadn't spoke to before is the difference between clients that you manage, so your direct bill, and clients that manage themselves, the ones that are a retail or a client bill client. So you'll see this when you see the transition tab as well, and I'll explain the difference. So the clients that you pay for, you will transition all at once. The clients that pay for themselves will have the option to transition because they're managing their own subscription. And so once you transition your firm, then those clients that are paying for their own bill on a retail subscription will then see a transition experience for them, and they can choose separately when and how they opt in. As an accountant, if you have firm access for them, you can go and transition for them if you want. I just want to call out those are the 2 different paths that you can take.
And then just again to clarify, managing, when you say managing the client, you're talking specifically just with the billing. I mean, because
Yes.
as an accountant, I can manage their payroll, right? And
Yes.
it doesn't matter who's paying for it for the service where I'm managing the payroll. But when you're managing the billing, that's what you're specifically talking about.
Exactly right. Yes. If you are managing the product subscription for your clients, then you control everything and you will transition all at once. If your client is managing their subscription, the client will have the option, and you can transition for that client if you have an admin permission for their account.
Perfect. All right. Good stuff here. Let's keep continuing.
So we have a quick video on the transition experience, and you can, Dan, I don't know, we have a little time to play this, or should we send this out afterwards? What do you think?
It is on the slides, and the link to it is on the slides, and it's on the QB Power Hour page that I posted out earlier. I would watch it a couple times, so I don't want to necessarily want to take time here to watch it, because you want to watch it a couple times and really get a good, but it does set the stage as to what to expect, and what you should be able to see, and how that looks moving forward, because it actually does run the whole process through. And unfortunately, because it takes overnight, to transition all of these clients, you really can't see that except on this video. So I would definitely watch a video later.
Sounds great. So to sum it up, and then we'll transition to a Q&A section. We know change is hard, and completely understand that this is a product that you and your clients have been using for many years. It's going to take a little getting used to a new format. We're trying to make it. We want to make it as easy as possible. Want to reassure everyone that your data is not moving. You won't have to set up payroll from scratch. You'll have access to chat with Care if you want some guidance and you have some questions. We also have a payroll ProAdvisor certification and a link to some QBO training if you want to get up to speed in advance on QuickBooks before the move. And after you move, you'll have access immediately to our QuickBooks ecosystem of products and services. So if your clients have never used QuickBooks before, this is a great time to talk to them about whether or not a QuickBooks accounting subscription would also benefit them, or if they need payments, or they even need a capital loan. These are things that they can now take advantage of, and you can incorporate them in your practice as well.
Awesome.
So
with that, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead, and then I'll ask you questions in a second.
I was just going to show the resources slide. That's all, with a couple of links that folks can find. The link to the video that's posted on YouTube, that guide to speaking to clients about the transition, a overview of QuickBooks Online Payroll. If you want a one-pager to share with your clients, you can copy and download this and send it out. And the link to the ProAdvisor pricing that we discussed, as well as the certification and the training that we mentioned too.
Awesome. So Michael wanted to know, where will the transition tab show up once it's allowed for my firm's payroll clients? Will it be under the client to-dos?
It will be under the client list drop-down menu. You'll see it as the first tab on the left when you sign in.
Yeah, maybe we should watch the video. I think I think that might not be a bad idea.
We do have time, because we can always send out the Q&A after the fact if we need to. So yeah, if you want to, go ahead.
Do you have that queued up for us, Leif? Or do you want me to...
would it be possible if you would show it, Dan? I'm not sure if the video audio always works through my Zoom sometimes.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so pivoting here. 1 second. Let's go over here. Move this guy over here. Share my screen. And make
while
sure
he's doing that, so I have a question for you, Leif, on the pricing, because the way I understood it, and love Intuit, but y'all do change things frequently, so I don't know what the latest is. But before, if we had a client, now I'm just talking QBO, not necessarily payroll. If we had a client that was already using QBO, then we could not put them on our preferred pricing. What about payroll? Somebody was asking about payroll. Currently the client, so it's direct bill to the client for payroll, but Naomi wants to do wholesale going forward. So can they move them from the client paying to our preferred pricing when it comes to payroll?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a couple of options here that are available. So in Intuit Online Payroll, you can move your client to wholesale billing before you transition, or you can do that after you transition. An advantage of doing it before you transition is I think it makes things a little bit easier for you. They'll be included in the transition process because they will be part of the wholesale billing that will be done overnight. It also, just so folks know, if you have retail clients, they will be given the ProAdvisor pricing when they choose to transition, and that will be good for 12 months. So that's an advantage that normally would not be available for retail clients, but it's offered as part of the transition. If you choose to convert them into a wholesale before you transition, then no problem. They'll still be given the discount and the wholesale pricing once they transition. That was a lot of pricing terminology. Does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, you should be able to see the video here. Just make sure that you can let me make sure you can hear the audio as well.
Make it big too, please. Thank you. Perfect.
It's muted.
The first thing you'll notice when you log
Sorry, it's quiet.
as an Intuit Online Payroll accountant, the first thing you'll notice when you log in is you'll see the new transition experience on your client list. There'll be 2 steps: what's happening and make the transition. You'll be able to watch a quick video and view an FAQ of commonly asked questions. Additionally, there'll be information for your accountant firm, as well as helpful information about your clients, including how long it will take, how your client's payroll will be affected, and a handy guide that explains tips for communicating with your clients about the process. Once you're ready to get started, you can click on step 2 or get started, and you'll see some more information specifically about your firm and your client's firm. The new plan price for your accountant firm will be $0, as your firm payroll is always free with QuickBooks Online Accountant. If you're using time tracking, we recommend you choose Premium or Elite, as this will enable you to continue to track time for your clients. You'll be able to see a list of all your firm billed, client billed, or 1099 clients. For your firm billed clients, you can select the payroll plan that works best for them. We recommend that your clients transition to Payroll Core as the most cost-effective solution. However, you have the ability to make a selection to change that to Premium or Elite at any time and see the price accordingly. Once you continue, for some roles, you'll need to adjust user permissions for QuickBooks Online. You can elect to give these clients full access or no access to payroll. Once you confirm the access changes, you'll see a screen to subscribe to the new product. It's important to note that your data stays where it is, and you will not have to enter data twice once you subscribe. You can see how many clients will be transitioned to each product, terms and conditions, and your next billing date. Once you click subscribe, you'll see a notice that we will take care of the transition at the end of the day. You can continue to use QuickBooks Intuit Online Payroll in the meantime, and once you're done, we will notify you when the transition is complete. You will continue to see your Intuit Online Payroll experience and be notified when your firm and your clients have transitioned. Once your clients have transitioned, you can view the transition clients, which will take you to sign in to QuickBooks Online Accountant. When you sign in with your existing Intuit username and password, you'll be greeted in QuickBooks Online Accountant with a short tour of the product. You'll notice all of your clients appear automatically in QuickBooks Online Accountant. All of their data is intact, and you can pick up where you left off.
Now, Leif, was that you doing the video?
That was.
Aha.
It feels very weird to listen to yourself on the video. It feels like it's someone else.
It's the worst thing sometimes. All right.
I did see a question pop up during that, which it talks about the pricing, and I did want to mention. I know there is a pricing difference between QuickBooks Core Premium Elite and Intuit Online Payroll. Part of that's because Intuit Online Payroll hasn't changed in 7 years, so some accountants have been giving a huge discount, especially depending on the number of clients that you may have. And while it's I would consider a screaming deal, it doesn't reflect the amount of services and value that we packed in the new lineup. So it is going to be a price increase for some of you and some of your clients. And that's why we're trying to make this as transparent as possible. And you'll see all the information on pricing when you go and you make that transition. So again, the control's in your hands. We do feel like the pricing is very competitive, and it reflects the value and the addition of features and benefits that are in that new lineup.
That's a good call out there. I know it's especially the Intuit Online Payroll for accountants was, as you said, a screaming deal. Especially if you had a lot of clients under it, and the transitioning to an as per subscription model, which is in alignment with QuickBooks Online, right? So I mean, again, it's kind of simplifying now. One of the things I wanted to mention, and we had kind of talked about it right before we got on, this transition, when you do transition, this will end up being a separate firm on the QBOA dashboard, right? So, to that point, you'll have your payroll clients under one firm and your QBO and their payroll under another. But good news coming forward is there is a plan. You've thought this through, and there will be some tools to be able to get things consolidated under one firm, right, Leif?
Right. Exactly. Right. So one of the things I want to emphasize, which you saw there in the video, is that if you have an Intuit password and username, we're not creating a new separate account for anyone. You'll be able to log into your existing account. You will see your own firm company from IOP and all the IOP clients under its own QuickBooks accountant company. So you'll have the option to choose, if you have an existing QuickBooks company, once you log in, you can choose that one, or you can choose the one that was transitioned from Intuit Online Payroll. This is simply to keep things streamlined and easy to differentiate. We know some firms do manage these companies differently, depending on if you have clients in different regions of the country or different business units. So there are many accountants that manage their practice that way. If that doesn't apply to you and you want them consolidated under a single QuickBooks Online Accountant firm, then there is a tool to do that. We call that account consolidation. And so we'll provide steps and guidance for you to do that. And it's not a painful process. Takes a couple of clicks and your clients can move over.
And just the kind of like the important safety tip, like in Ghostbusters, since that came out, don't cross the streams, right? You don't want, if we were using Intuit Online Payroll and sending it to QuickBooks Online, don't turn on the accounting functionality once they're transitioned into QBO Payroll, because they've already got their own payroll subscription or their accounting in another place. So don't break that by trying to just turn on accounting. So keep that in mind. Once the transition's made, just leave it where it is, and then eventually there'll be more tools to be able to combine and consolidate that, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I just saw that question come through. So when you do transition your clients, even if they have a QBO account already, this will create a QuickBooks payroll company that can continue to export their transactions to the QuickBooks Online account. Those accounts will not automatically be linked. I think of it a little bit like my personal bank account. I have a savings account. I have a checking account. We're not automatically taking the money from your checking and moving it into your savings. We're keeping them as two separate accounts, and you can elect to transfer from one to the other. So if after you transition, you'll have one payroll company for your client, you might have an existing QBO company. I would recommend that you go into your settings on payroll and you export directly that QBO account. And as Dan mentioned, down the road, we'll have some tools. If you wish to consolidate those, you'll be able to do so down the road.
Awesome. Let's quick run the last poll question before we.
Yes, and we want to make sure
couple...
that we let people know how to follow up when they have additional questions or need additional help. You know, what we're going to do with them from that perspective.
Gotcha. So this last poll question actually has two questions. So we threw you a curve, and I said three. So two with my fingers, two poll questions there. So make sure you answer both of those. But what is your biggest concern about switching to QuickBooks Online Payroll? And the other is, when would you like to transition your client? So, like, you know, some people said, I want it now, or, you know, I want it later. So which what's your ideal timeline? What other questions do we have popping up there, Michelle?
I was just looking, and I'll tell you what, our helpers have done an amazing job answering all these questions. They've got over 60 questions that they've answered out there. So I think they covered all of these.
Nice. Always good to have help. Don't do it alone.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, they've done a great job. All this is a lot of wonderful, fabulous information. And I do know Intuit employees monitor the Facebook groups and stuff. And so, you know, if people have questions, you can always, you know, talk with each other in the Facebook group, and Intuit employees usually are paying attention out there as well. So you can continue the conversation out there after today's webinar as you're going through the transition over the next, you know, 6-8 months or whatever.
Leif, any final thoughts? I mean, thank you for your wealth of information and being voluntold that you're going to be our guest today. It's the penalty for leaving a meeting early, I guess.
Always a pleasure to be here. I love sharing the information, talking, and most especially hearing from all you and your firms and your clients, which actually, I think the thing I'd love to hear would be the last poll question is, when might be the best time for people to transition?
Yeah, looks like we've got most people answered. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll so we can share those results. There we go.
Yeah, 37%
wow.
said before year end. Wow.
But they're a glutton for punishment. They want emails and
yeah,
and throw it in before December.
Well, I can understand once you get into January, things get crazy. So it is kind of nice to deal with some of that stuff before year end.
I think the biggest win would be, you know, because it's already on the same platform, right? So that they don't have to, you know, reset up everything. I guess my question to you, Leif, is that if they're on enhanced, you know, the do-it-yourself payroll offering, and they opt into one of the full service offerings, whose responsibility is it once that transition is made? Like, do you guys take over from that day forward, or do you do the whole year, or, you know, what happens if somebody opts in in December, and you know, with W-2s and whatnot for the coming year?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as soon as you're on our products, you're on our products. So you'll accept the terms of service when you transition. And at that point, we take over. So if there are questions, concerns that you have, I think the best way to get in touch with support after the transition is to, you'll become a member of the ProAdvisor Vanguard. So you can contact support, and you'll be directed specifically to our ProAdvisor tiered support, which is a very high level of service. And so that's why I would highly recommend, if you want to take advantage of that, then transition early. There'll be folks that'll be able to answer that sort of questions. There is a feature where if you go into settings after transition, you can choose to turn off automated taxes and filings. So that is there if absolutely it's something that you need to have for your business, but not something that I say most of our firms would take advantage of, as they seem to get used to the automated full service very quickly.
And that brings up a good follow-up. So when you do need to speak to to someone in payroll, what is the best way? Because there's a lot of, try this, do that, call this number, and what's the best way for accountants to reach payroll support or help directly?
Great question. So we've gone to a lot of links to make sure that this is as seamless as possible and you have access to knowledgeable support staff. So before you transition, if you have questions, the best way is when you see that transition tab, there's a chat with us link. And if you click on that, you'll be directed to someone familiar with the product that can help you. If you've gone through the transition and you have a question, the best way is to go through, as I mentioned again, the ProAdvisors support, which you'll find on your help tab in QuickBooks Online Accountant. And when you chat with the ProAdvisor, they are well versed on the transition process. They'll know the ins and outs, and they can be able to help you answer your question.
So doing it from within in the dashboard that you're in, whatever that happens to be. If you're logged into IOP, chat with them in there. If you're logged in through the post transition in your QBOA dashboard, reach out there.
Exactly. I know during certain times of year, it's especially frustrating when you have to wait a long time on the phone. And although we do our best to limit that, sometimes the wait times do get a little long. So chat is generally a good method. When you go to the ProAdvisor contact, you'll see, depending on how many points you have, which is another reason to complete, I would advise completing that payroll certification, is that it gives you more options to connect with care. So some of those options you'll start to see if you have higher support, higher ProAdvisor certification points.
Fantastic. Well, we
Wonderful.
Did run a little over. Michelle, any final parting thoughts?
No, I just want to thank you, Intuit, for coming on, and Leif for going through all this with us today, as well as all the people who were helping on the back end answer the questions. It does help for everybody to hear this and know what to expect and stuff. So thank you guys very much. And Dan, thank you as always. And I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving and you get to spend some time with your family and friends, and stay safe if you're traveling somewhere.
Awesome. Thanks again, Leif, for joining us here today and giving us this great information in the transition timeline and time period. Really appreciate that. And Michelle, I think the world of you and so thankful for you.
A lot of thankfulness going around.
Right.
We're all thankful. All right. Well, thank you.
Virtual hug here.
Yes. We'll see you, everybody. Have a great one.
Have a great day.